Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. I took the TOEFL because I needed it to study at the University of Oxford. Today I will answer a question for Task 2 in TOEFL Speaking. First, I'm going to tell you what Task 2 is about. Then I will answer the question, and after that I will show you what you need to do to get a high score. Let's get started. Task 2 is called the campus announcement. You have to read an article that talks about a change, including reasons for this change. For example, this can be an article in a university newspaper. After that, you listen to a conversation between two people who discuss the article. One of them will give an opinion regarding the article along with reasons for that opinion. Your task is to talk about the opinion of the speaker and to state the reasons. Sometimes the question also asks you to give a quick summary of the announcement. You have 30 seconds to prepare your answer and 60 seconds to speak. That's quite challenging because that's not much time. But guys, you can use a trick here. The task is always the same. You always have to talk about the opinion and reasons of the speaker. And you can use this to your advantage. There is something that can help you deliver an amazing answer in that short time frame. And that's a TOEFL speaking template. I created a template for my TOEFL and it helped me so much. What is a template? A template gives you sentence starters that you can memorize. These sentence starters use linking words and a broad range of vocabulary. This means that when you're taking the TOEFL, you don't need to think about how to start your sentences because that's already in your head. And you make sure that you use good vocabulary in your answer. Don't forget that you only have 30 seconds to prepare your answer. That's just enough time to think about the key points you want to mention. It's not enough time to think about how you want to start your sentences. If you need a template for TOEFL speaking, click on the link in the description. You can get your templates for all TOEFL speaking tasks. Tasks 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. Let's have a look at the second task 2. In the ETS practice test, you can find the link to this test in the description below. What is the task about? The announcement states that the university plans to demolish the old auditorium and to replace it with a new one. It gives 2 reasons for this change. And then there is a transcript of a conversation between 2 students who talk about this change. In the TOEFL test, you will listen to this conversation, but here in the practice test, you have to read the transcript. The man is not happy about the announcement, and he gives 2 reasons for why the old auditorium should not be demolished. The question asks you to state the man's opinion and to talk about the reasons he provides to support his opinion. I'm now going to give my answer to this question exactly as I would do it in the TOEFL. By the way, you can access a sheet that includes the full sample answer, explanations and tips on how to get a high TOEFL speaking score by clicking on the link in the description below. I'm going to talk a bit faster because this is how I would do it in the TOEFL. Let's go! The announcement states that the university plans to substitute the old campus auditorium with a new one. The man has a negative attitude about the notice and opposes it for 2 reasons. First, he claimed that the current auditorium is a nice building with a historic appearance. On top of that, it forms an essential part of the university's history, as it was among the first buildings to be erected on campus. The university should therefore keep the old auditorium instead of tearing it down. Second, he pointed out that there is no need to have a larger auditorium, since it never happens that an event is attended by all students. Indeed, there are normally only a few students there for a play or a concert. The university's argument that the old auditorium doesn't have room for all students is hence not well founded. I'm now going to show you how you can get a high score in TOEFL speaking. Let's have a closer look at my answer, and let's start with the structure I used. I started with the change the announcement is talking about. Then I used a transition from the announcement to the man's opinion. I said that the man has a negative attitude about the notice and opposes it for 2 reasons. Then I talked about the opinion of the man, because that's what the question asks you to do. Let's have a look at the vocabulary I used. I used my TOEFL speaking template. This made it a lot easier for me to give my answers because I had the sentence starters in my head, so I didn't have to think about that. The template made sure that I used linking words such as first and second, which are great to structure your answer, and different verbs for to say, such as to state, to point out, and so on. Also, I paraphrased the information given whenever this was possible. Paraphrasing means using different words than those given in the notice and in the conversation. If you paraphrase, you show TOEFL that you have a broad range of vocabulary, and this will boost your TOEFL speaking score. For example, instead of replace the old auditorium with a new one, I said substitute the old auditorium. Or instead of historic looking, I used the expression with a historic appearance. The man used the verbs to build and to get rid of. I used to erect and to tear down. These are just a few examples of how you can paraphrase in TOEFL speaking. Of course, you shouldn't paraphrase when it's not possible to do so. You must show TOEFL that you know which words cannot be paraphrased, because this will get you a higher score. For instance, I used the words nice, concert, and play that were given in the conversation. That's totally fine. Let's check out the last point, grammar. You should use more complex sentence structures in your answer, because this way you show the TOEFL examiners that you have great language skills, and this will improve your TOEFL speaking score. For example, I said it was among the first buildings to be erected, or the university should therefore keep the old auditorium instead of tearing it down. These are more complex sentences, and I used them to boost my TOEFL speaking score. That's it! That's how you answer Task 2 in TOEFL speaking. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions or a video wish, comment below, and I would love to see you here next time. Bye bye!